G'day guys, hope you're all doing well today. For those of you still in high school, hope you've had a great first week back or second week back. And for those of you in uni, hopefully you guys are still enjoying your holidays and having a great time. Today we're chatting about dieting. And, recently in the fitness industry, dieting has become this super overcomplicated topic where everyone's been super hyper fixated on, calorie counting. And we've just been so overwhelmed by the amount of different diets that, people are forcing us to try and follow. Um, So recently the fitness industry has just become erupted with all these big influencers now, with, different diets that they all follow that work for them, and they reckon that should be able to work for us. Like, for example, Eddie Abdu, I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but he promotes, the fasting lifestyle and, eating not animal based, but low carb and only having carbs around your training, which, to be honest, and, I actually do that as well. Like, when I'm around training, like before and after, I will eat carbs and during training and, maybe not have as much throughout the day, but he promotes, fasting for 80 hours. He did a Instagram real compilation of how he felt each day after every 24 hours up to 80 hours of his fast, and how he was training throughout the whole process and what he was doing with his supplementation, all that stuff. But he's promoting that you shouldn't be eating all this processed junk and all this other stuff, and you should only be eating whole foods, eating the full fat mince, eating whole eggs, and, having a mostly high fat, high protein diet. And same with Mike O'Hearn. Like, for those of you who don't know Mike O'Hearn, I'll put a picture of him right now. This bloody massive bloke, and he says that the key reason to why he achieved his physique is because of, I think it was duck or quail eggs, something like that. And so he's putting out all this, bullshit information. Like, it's obvious that he's on steroids, even though he's claiming to be a natural. And he's promoting, eat quail eggs and you'll be able to get this amazing physique, which is just stupid, and it won't get people to, by promoting that, you're creating this facade that eating these certain foods and just these foods will promote people to, gain muscle at a more rapid rate. And aside from influencers, there's so many diets that everyone's been preaching out. Keto, not too long ago, like within the past decade, went skyrocketing due to, the rapid weight loss that would come from that. There's been recently animal-based diet, fruitarian diet, which says in the name is where you just follow a diet which is based off just fruit. And we'll go through each of these diets and, suggest their pros and cons to it. And then there's carnivore, and then there's, the most ridiculous one, juice cleanse. Keto, the reason why keto or ketogenic diet, which comes from ketosis, which is where your body utilizes fat as its main fuel source. This is when people stay off carbs, and the reason why people preach this diet and lifestyle so much is because when your body, when you eat carbs and store it into your muscles, you hold 4 grams of water for every 1 gram of carbohydrates that you have in your body. So by having less carbs, you're basically losing just a quarter of the weight. No, 3/4 of the weight is just water weight that you're actually losing. It's not fat loss. And the main reason why people diet is to lose fat. They say, oh, I want to lose weight. But in reality, most of the time they're not looking too far into it. But in reality, they just want to, lose fat. And keto diet, it's hard to stick to, and it's hard to, I wouldn't say it's hard to train with, just because I haven't experienced yet what it's like training on the keto diet. But because your main fuel source, your body's original main fuel source is glucose, glycogen, or carbs. By not having that in your body, I can't imagine how much easier training would make it. I understand how you'd see a rapid amount of weight loss, which is what a lot of bodybuilders do before prep. And if you think about it, if your main goal is to feel good and look good, why would you not just be in a calorie deficit instead of eating like a bodybuilder before show day, where they're performing at their worst, compared to, let's just say like a rower who eats a lot of carbs and at peak performance and at peak, before like a tournament or a regatta or whatever. Will Bowl give me so much shit for this because I've got no idea what I'm talking about. But, peak training level, you're eating so many carbohydrates to fuel yourself compared to a bodybuilder who eats 0 carbs before show day, where you're performing at your worst. So keto, in my opinion, doesn't make too much sense in the terms of training, but in the terms of rapid weight loss, it can be, a pretty good option. If you want to see, losing 5 kilos within 3 weeks, go on a keto diet and your water weight will drop straight away. And that's why a lot of the time when you see people who have, decent physiques and they stop eating carbohydrates, their skin looks a lot more peeled. It's like a lot more closer to the muscles because that water weight is all being flushed out. And enough about keto now, we'll go to animal-based diet, which I actually think that animal-based diet is, out of all these ones that have become super popularized throughout the, past decade or two, is actually, the most nutritious and beneficial for everyday people and athletes. So an animal-based diet is basically like meats, fruits, and, easy essential fats. It's basically anything that you can grow or get yourself. So, any meats, get it from an animal, not any vegan, beef patties or anything processed, no protein bars, protein powders. Animal-based diet is just, a lot of the time it's, a lean meat, a fruit, maybe a fat like ghee, butter, avocado oil, avocados, and stuff like that. And so they still get carbohydrates in their diet. They get it from the fruit because the fruit contains natural sugars, but they don't eat any processed carbs such as breads, your pastas, your pikelets, crumpets, bagels, any of that stuff. And a lot of the time you see benefits with your gut microbiome, and that has a lot to do with your diet. So they're getting so many natural whole foods in your diet, which helps with the digestion inside your body. And the gut microbiome has a lot of benefits, and a lot of the people that you see on this animal-based diet, a big feature that they show is how their skin clears up so much because they're having whole nutritious foods. Their gut microbiome is benefiting so much because it connects to how your collagen and all that stuff flows through your body, which collagen, it helps produce the skin barrier on your face and your whole skin, so you see your skin clear up so much. So all those dark scars on your face, or all the pimples that keep forming, will slowly decrease away from eating a lot of whole nutritious foods. One thing about the animal-based diet is just that it's super refined to what you can eat, just like the keto diet. They're both, so when you go out to eat, you can go get a steak, but eventually, no matter how much you like something, if you overconsume or overdo how much you use or have it, eventually you're just going to get too used to the satisfaction, and you'll eventually just give up, not give up, but fall out of love with what you're eating or what you're doing. But all in all, I think the animal-based diet is a great way to benefit both, as a general population, to benefit people's health, as the main point of having an animal-based diet is to just only have whole nutritious foods that you're able to pick from a tree or grow yourself. The fruitarian diet, as in the name, your diet is only consisting of fruit. So some of the time, it will be like some fruitarians, they have, fruits, and they have their waters, teas and coffees. And then sometimes it gets so extreme where some fruitarians, they only have like just fruit, no water, no coffee, no tea. And they suggest this because they believe that you get enough water through the foods or through the fruits that you're eating. So if you're eating, some of them will go through a whole watermelon, half a pineapple, a handful of grapes, and maybe like 4 bananas in a day. Like, for example, for a fruitarian diet. That's just a wild guess. A lot of the people that are on the fruitarian diet, yes, they're holding a lot of water weight, but they're still seeing rapid weight loss because fruits are filled with fiber, they're filled with water, and they're super low in calories. So because they're in a calorie deficit, they're going to see fat loss. So eventually the fat around like their whole body will shrink away rapidly because it's so hard to overeat on a fruitarian diet, because it's like watermelons, 90 something percent water, and bananas and like your grapes and all that other stuff is filled with fiber, which fiber helps with your digestion, so it keeps you fuller for longer. So by doing that, you'll see people on a fruitarian diet drop weight rapidly, but despite dropping weight rapidly, they'll lose a lot of their muscle mass because they're not getting any protein from their diet. They might have a lot of energy, their muscle mass will decrease like just as rapidly as their weight loss. Onto carnivore. So carnivore was bloody massive like the past year or two. You've seen everyone go on it. Like James Smith went on it. He was meant to do a video about that, but he ended up not posting it because I think he just cheated on it for one day and just couldn't be stuffed. Joe Rogan's hopped on it. There's been plenty of people that have hopped on the carnivore diet, and they've said that it's the best thing that they've ever done, and their energy goes through the roof. This is, it's basically like the keto diet on crack. They're cutting out all carbs, and it's just upping the protein so much, and still keeping the fats high, but it's almost higher than keto because they focus a lot on the high fat content meat products. So instead of having like in a keto diet, you'd be getting like maybe 90-10 ground beef, for example, whereas in the carnivore diet, you'd be getting like a 80-20 or like a 78 12 to be able to get as many fats in, because in the carnivore diet, just like keto, you're both using ketosis, where your body utilizes fat as its main fuel source. Now with the carnivore diet, a lot of people say, "Oh, I got super shredded being on the carnivore diet." This mainly occurs due to protein having the highest thermogenesis, where basically through the process of digesting the food per gram, protein burns more calories from just digesting it than carbs and fats. So by doing that, it just adds to your NEAT, which is your non-exercise thermogenesis. So by doing that, you increase your daily calorie expenditure at rest. With carnivore diet, the cons are, it's, the first week or two, it will be the hardest thing to do because your training it won't plateau, but it'll be way harder to get through. You'll have such limited food sources to eat from because you're only allowed to eat meat. But yeah, like there's plenty of cons that come with doing a carnivore diet, but there are also pros. And there's just a disclaimer that, if you are on one of these diets, it's not me saying get off it. It's me saying to people who want to get into dieting, I wouldn't say properly, but, suggesting different ways to diet, that these wouldn't be my, personally, these wouldn't be starting points from, me saying this to another person. I wouldn't say, oh, you should go straight keto, because, you'll see rapid weight loss. Like, yeah, that comes with, a couple cons that, happen with that. Like, if they're training and then they randomly go on a keto diet, they're going to be like, oh shit, why am I so weak? Like, why do I have no energy? Last one, juice cleanse. Juice cleanse, this is going to be the quickest one out of all of them, is the worst one by far. It's literally a fruitarian diet where you're not getting the actual, like, solid food sources, so you're just blending it all up. You won't stay full for long enough. You'll end up having about 10, 12 juices in one day, and you'll get sick of it so quickly. Yes, you'll see rapid weight loss, but that also comes with the calorie deficit that happens on a juice cleanse. A lot of the people that go on juice cleanses, they also fast. So they fast at the day, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to break my fast with a juice cleanse. Like, who wants to break that? No one wants to break their fast with a juice cleanse. Everyone wants the sensation of being able to eat real food. Being on a juice cleanse is one of the worst experiences ever. And I know this personally because my mum thought it was a great idea to go on a juice cleanse one time. It lasted about 4 days, and she was like, that was the worst thing I ever did. Like, I just felt like shit the entire time. So yeah, like, don't go on a juice cleanse. These examples of questionable diets, it's just the worst way for, getting people that want to become healthy to be just so overwhelmed by how much information there is about food out there, and just throwing them off wanting to become healthy. Like, you see so many people that like fuss about, like, oh, you can't be eating this many eggs per day, or you can't be eating this many carbs, or you have to eat within a time frame after working out. And a lot of the time, people who want to get into working out and want to eat healthy, they just see this and they're just like, oh, there's no chance I'm going to make myself go through that. Like, there's no chance I'm going to follow this strict regimen the entire time. And it's just ridiculous. Like, the fitness community, it's so good that it's getting big, and like everyone's joining into it. Everyone's becoming so much healthier and training and eating way more. But a lot of people are bringing out, like, wrong information and, misreading studies. And there was an example that James Smith posted literally yesterday about this famous podcast, this popular podcast, where they had someone on and he completely misread the information. And I don't want to say lie, because, maybe he wasn't thinking straight, or, it wasn't his fault that he misread it, and maybe it was the people that gave him the information. But he just completely misread all the findings that happened in the study, and it led people to believe, false information. That's a big one in the fitness community. A lot of the time, these PTs that want to become fitness influencers, they bring out a lot of misused information and don't go too in depth about their research, and just see the headline to just, show they're correct. One of the things that come from the fitness community commonly that puts people off is saying that there's good foods and bad foods, which I think, it's a big thing that we need to do to get rid of that term, calling it good and bad. Like, there's no such thing as good and bad foods. I believe that instead it's, there's more nutrient dense and non-nutrient dense foods. Like, if you compare a chocolate bar, like a Cadbury chocolate, milk chocolate, to a chicken breast, the Cadbury chocolate is going to be filled with fats and carbs, which, might be good, like, post-workout, to get easy carbs in for your body to replenish your glycogen stores. But other than that, it won't do too much for you. Compared to a chicken breast and like a sweet potato, which having pre and post workout can benefit your body tremendously. It's a slow digesting carb, and it's a easy protein, which is it's protein dense. So your body's muscle protein synthesis is going to benefit a lot more from the chicken breast and potato than it will from the chocolate bar, because of the minimal amount of nutrient density in that food. an easy tip that I feel like a lot of people will know by now is the 80-20 rule. So, just calculating your calories, which is as easy as going into Google, typing in calorie count calculator, putting in, click on the first link, putting in, it just asks for your age, weight, height, and how active you are, which, another tip from me, if you're putting in how active you are, just lowball how active you are, because you'd rather eat less calories than, more than you're actually burning per day. Another way that you can find out your daily calories is if you're, lucky enough to have a Apple Watch, a Fitbit, a Garmin, can't remember the other ones, but if you're lucky enough to have one of those that track your calories per day, such as with the Apple Watch, you have the fitness app in your phone, you just log in and it shows you how much you burnt through activity, which a lot of people get mixed up when they look at the watch. They're like, oh, I've only burnt 800 calories today from exercise. But that gets added on to like what the fitness app estimates is your daily calorie expenditure at rest, which is what the TDE calculator is for, the calorie calculator is for. So once you calculate that, you can just calculate how much 80% of your calories are and how much 20% is. And with that, you want to follow 80% of your calorie intake should just be nutritious, whole foods, high protein, good carbs, healthy fats, all that good stuff. And once you got all your macronutrients ticked off, like your protein and your carbs, then you can have 20% to indulge. So you can have like a little chocky bar, or you can have a little maxi bon, or a drumstick, or a Super Duper, or a Lifesaver, or literally anything you want. Another tip for when starting out dieting, this can even be before when you figure out what your calories are, is to have a protein target, because protein is probably one of the most beneficial macronutrients out of the three. A way to calculate what your protein goal should be at minimum per day is, for men, it should be 2x your body weight. So, for example, too much maths. Let's just say I'm 70 kilos. Times that by 2, I have to eat at least 140 kilos, 140 grams of protein per day. And then for women, it's between 1.5 and 2 times your body weight for grams of protein. So by having a protein goal, even before having a calorie, how many calories you have to eat per day, before having that, by hitting your protein goal, you're gonna be more full throughout the day, because protein is a slow digesting macronutrient. It takes very, very long time for your body to digest protein. 2, protein will, increase your need. So when you're digesting protein, as I said before, it takes more calories to burn that than it does for, carbs or fat. This might seem, this next tip might just be like, oh yeah, no shit, but it's really important to include fats, carbs, and protein in your diet, and have a very, a very equal balance between the three. Because a lot of the time when people get into dieting and they figure out how many, calories are in each macronutrient, they're like, oh, I'm getting rid of fat straight away. But then they suffer, their hormone development and, their hormone and how their hormones work and operate every single day, because fats are the most important macronutrient for that. They, can suffer, affecting their metabolism and all that other stuff. So, when you download like a MyFitnessPal or any calorie calculator, it will usually give you a rule of like 50% carbs, 30% fat, and 20% protein, or it might be the opposite for 30% protein, 20% fats. And so by having that even distribution, it's based off, what your details are for like you personally, like your height, weight, age, and gender. So it gives you an idea of how many macronutrients you need to function per day, basically, to function well per day. And so that it's really common for people to take out fats because, there's 9 gram per gram of fats, there's 9 calories, which is a lot compared to protein and carbs, which is only 4 calories per gram. This is why a lot of the time when people start dieting, they get rid of all of their oils and all their, their avocados. This is mainly because they're very high in calories, but they're so nutrient dense, as well as like yolks in eggs. A lot of the time people will just have like egg whites. But you really should be getting in those healthy fats. Like still try to keep in egg yolks, avocados, and like olive oils to, a certain extent. Like when you're cooking, I wouldn't say to have more than like 2 teaspoons of olive oil to cook because it doesn't take that much. So losing weight versus losing fat. A big one that a lot of people get mixed up, which is fair enough. Like they both basically like you can lose weight without losing fat, but you can't lose fat without losing weight. So it's easy for them to both get mixed up. So, when you're losing weight, a lot of the time people mistake that for losing fat because they see the scale drop so much. And by that, they get so hyperfixated on, what their number is, like, oh, how much am I weighing today? Instead of wondering, oh, like, do I look better than last week? Which both respectively sounds, it can become a negative mindset because either one, you're hyperfixated on the number that you see on the scale, or 2, you're hyperfixated on what you look like, which is body dysmorphia. But to positively look at this, you need to not think, oh, because I don't look better or I don't weigh less than the week before, this is the be all and end all, I'm just going to quit. And, losing weight or losing fat is such a long process that you have to go through. Not for losing weight, sorry, for losing fat. It's a long process that you have to go to. But it's the most rewarding feeling. Like it's a way better feeling than losing weight. Like for example, UFC fighters, when they have to cut 5 kilos the week before a fight, all they're doing is they're cutting their calories super low, and then a couple of days before the fight, they are just wasting, which is where you just flush every little bit of water out of your body. You're dehydrated, you can't function properly, you got no energy, and then have to go and do the weigh-ins, do the press conference, and basically have a fake fight on stage until the real fight actually happens, where they'll just start pushing each other and say like, oh, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. But yeah, compare that to losing fat. You become a lot more vascular, your muscle definition becomes increased dramatically compared to losing weight. A lot of the time when people just lose weight, they end up looking skinny fat. So they've got no muscle definition, and they're just they're just scrawny looking. Whereas when you're losing fat, you, like I said before, you get a lot more muscle definition, and it helps with your cardiovascular fitness with less adipose tissue around your body. It makes it a lot easier for your heart to pump blood into the working muscles. Dieting for recovery. So recovery in terms of post-training feed, like the post-training feed that you have. A lot of the time, people are super fixated on just getting protein in straight away, getting a protein shake in. Oh, I have to go within an hour or else I'll lose all my gains. That's all just bullshit. The anabolic window, which everyone likes to call it, actually lasts up to about 3 or 4 hours after training, which is, assuming that you've eaten beforehand. If not, then yeah, you most likely should get food in your body straight after working out if you're working out fasted. But assuming that you've eaten before, you have at least a 4 hour window for your muscle protein synthesis to keep continuing. So the types of food that you want to eat post-workout is your carbs and protein. Carbs are actually just as important, if not more, than protein when getting in post workout, post training, because after you're training at a high intensity or even a low intensity, your body's burnt off all the glycogen in your body. So once your body's burnt off all the glycogen and it's not using that anymore, it goes straight to the protein. So it starts basically eating off your muscle as, fuel. So as soon as you get in those carbohydrates after you train or work out, it stops your body from using the proteins as fuel to keep it working. So that's why carbs are just as important to get in your diet post workout for recovery as it is protein. And protein's, the obvious one, like muscle recovery, helps the building blocks amino acids for building back the muscle that you just lost. Tremendous for weight loss, all that stuff. But, recovery, I'd say get your carbs in before your protein quickly so that your muscle, your body stops eating away your muscle for fuel. Dieting for performance. Now, I forgot the guy's name, but I'll put a picture of him up in the corner here. Basically, he said oatmeal, it's the worst thing for you. It's not the breakfast of champions. And then it's this Instagram reel where it cuts to Kipchoge, which I'm not sure anymore if he's still the world record holder for a marathon, but he broke the world record recently for running a marathon. And interviewers asked him, what's your favorite meal? What do you have for breakfast? And he goes, oatmeal, straight away. And, it's because of like this glyphosate bullshit that all these guys have been going on about. That's like, killing your body and it's eating up all your cells and all that stuff. But it's such a great slow digesting carb for, long distance runners and for, gym athletes or bodybuilders, because it, digests slowly through the body. So you have slow releasing carbohydrates in your body. A lot of the time, athletes need more carbohydrates than proteins and fats because they have to use more glycogen in their workouts and their trainings and in their games, especially in their games. Day or even, day and a half before your game, you really should be upping your calories and your amount of carbohydrates that you're getting in, because people often underestimate how much, they would burn or how much energy they use in their games. For example, a footy game. Let's just say, for example, a midfielder, he could end up running about, let's say, 12 Ks, and 5 of those Ks are at fast, high pace. Basketball players in a 1 hour session, for example, I did training the other day, ended up burning about 500 calories in a 1 hour session because you're doing so much change of direction sprinting. So imagine doing that for about 6 Ks or 4 Ks. You'll end up burning just like 700 calories, 600 calories just from your sprinting efforts throughout the game. And your game, in like a AGSV like school game, I'm pretty sure it's like, I could be wrong here, like 16, 17 minute quarters. No, I'm definitely wrong. It'll be something like 20. Yeah, it's 20-minute quarters and 20 minutes. So it took me a while to get that done, do that maths in my head. 120 minutes in the game. So you're going to be burning so many calories. So it's really important to get in that many carbs before your game. Like day of or day before a game, you should be aiming for like 400, 500 grams of carbs the day before. But that can vary depending on your body weight. I'll double check myself on this, but on the YouTube video, I'll put just above me the actual calculations for how many carbohydrates you should get into your body. It'll be something like a body weight times this amount before a game. But yeah, athletes need to be eating a very high carbohydrate, high protein diet before games. So let's say day of a game, a footy player will, let's just say for breakfast, he'll have maybe Wheat Bix, protein shake, banana, honey, milk. For lunch, and let's say the game's at 5 o'clock. For lunch, they'll have, a big tub of pasta, something that's easy to digest, like a, pasta bolognese, where it's just, tomato paste, tomato sauce, beef mince, and pasta. That goes through your body fairly easily, all the beef mince and tomato sauce. And then the pasta's a good slow digesting carb. The reason why we have Weet-Bix and banana and honey for the breakfast is to get the quick digesting carbs and make sure your body has glycogen in, through your body early in the day. And then pre-game, I would, like, personally, I have, anywhere between 3 and 6 pikelets, a banana or two, and then like some electrolytes and like some and like a lot of water, because when you work out, you're going to be flushing out a lot of water, you're going to be burning off a lot of energy, so it's so important that you make sure you're stacked up on that before game. And I would say before games, you should, have a big window from when you eat and when you perform. So I'd say at least 2 to 2.5 hours before your game is where you have a massive carbohydrate-filled meal to prepare you for your game, because you don't want to have indigestion and get that feeling like in your chest and in your throat, where you still feel like you're digesting your food. You want to make sure that everything's out of your body and you're feeling nice and light before the game. And then dieting for building muscle. So dieting for building muscle and dieting for performance are both very similar but different in ways. So a thing that Mike O'Hearn said, years ago, but came up recently on my Instagram, was if bodybuilders wanted to grow their muscles so much, then why don't they drink that much water? And this confused the shit out of everyone in the comments. They were like, oh, this bloke doesn't know what he's talking about. But then there's an explanation video that came out just a day later. And he says this because your muscles are filled with water. That's why they expand and become so big. So in theory, by drinking more water, your muscles are going to, get bigger. That's the big reason why people take creatine, because creatine's stored in your muscles, and creatine comes with a high water weight gain while supplementing it, because it's increasing the water load that comes into your muscles. But for building for muscle, a lot of the time bodybuilders, for example, they focus on high protein, high carbohydrates, and like minimal fats. This is mainly because they want to focus on getting more protein and carbs in their diet, and they reduce their fat content and the calories from their fats so that they can induce more carbohydrates and more protein into their diet. Carbohydrates for the energy, and protein for the muscle gain, for the muscle repairment, and added weight loss and fat loss. My last tip just for this episode is calorie counting. And a lot of my mates are gonna say like, oh, of course, Wen always counts his calories at snack and lunch. But I think that a lot of people who are trying to get healthy and trying to lose fat should just try a week of disciplined calorie counting. This can give you so many, insights about what has high calories and, what, I should choose to eat when I'm out, making healthier decisions. And after a week, if you don't like it, you can give up. And if you do, then you can keep it going, and you can be more in touch with how much you're eating and knowing how much you should eat or how much you want to eat and all that other stuff, and how many macronutrients are in different foods. This is all towards, people who want to eat healthier and lose fat. But you don't have to calorie count to lose fat. A lot of the time, you can just focus on using your hand as a guideline for, how many carbohydrates, fats, and proteins you should have like on your plate. So example, like a half fist of fats, palm filled of protein or carbs, and then a handful of protein or carbs, depending on if you're eating before training or eating post-training. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. Feel free to, give the video or the episode a like. Feel free to rate it above on Spotify, subscribe to YouTube, and share this if you guys want. Sharing will, help the podcast grow that much more, help more people, get in touch with their health and well-being, and become healthier people, across their lifespan. Hope you guys all enjoyed it, and see you guys in the next episode.